Hey everybody, it is WannabeSS, Janik, whoever you know me as. I haven't made a video in a long time, few months. Um, Probably wondering where I've been. And, well, it's been a pretty busy summer. I had an internship at a hotel where I worked roughly 40 hours a week. That ate a lot of time. And then I was trying to do things all the rest of the time. People always wanting to hang out and do whatever, but it's been pretty hectic summer. Didn't have a whole lot of free time and just kind of took a break from the car stuff. Um, Got really big into motorcycles this summer. I bought a second one. It's a Supermoto DRZ 400 Suzuki. I'll probably make a video on that and maybe my other motorcycle for anybody that didn't know. I did have a, well, I do have a GSXR 600 as well. Sport bike, but I got really into riding those this summer. Um, I think a lot of it has been with my new car. It made me kind of lose interest in cars because I'm not the biggest fan of my new car. Um, I definitely kind of feel like I went into it a little impulsively, but whatever. It wouldn't be bad, but I definitely made the mistake of getting all-wheel drive, which, like most cars I've driven, tends to ruin them. Don't buy all-wheel drive. It sucks. It makes the car feel heavy, numb, and sluggish. This is not my 2008 G. It is a freaking barge. And it just it needs to have two-wheel drive. It's not even losing the six-speed. It's the freaking all-wheel drive system. And I kind of contradict myself because I really like the Audi S4, and I think that might be my next car. Probably not at least, probably just buy a certified pre-owned one. But that all-wheel drive system Quattro feels way different than the Infiniti Atiza system, which, yeah, it's just, well, the one thing is the G37 XS, it's not really an S. It's more just like some bumpers and seats and a paddle shifter set that you get. And then everything else is basically your base model, standard suspension, standard steering ratio. It's a lot slower. You don't get the same kind of reactions that you do with the sport steering ratios. The suspension is really soft, very soft. Like, if it weren't for the all-wheel drive, like, I don't even know how to put it. If it weren't for the all-wheel drive, um, propelling this thing to the corner, I don't even know what it would be like. I mean, my old 05G, that was a non-sport rear-wheel drive, but I don't know. I'm kind of contradicting myself here because that car felt more fun to drive than this one. But I'm just not a big fan of it. I've been thinking about getting some beefier sway bars for it, maybe stiffen it up to drive a little bit more controlled, because when you're pushing the car to the limit, which I tend to do because I like to drive my car, it just gets so loose feeling in the front end. It just feels like it's going to understeer and wash out. It doesn't feel balanced. It feels like it's got 95% of the weight up front and nothing in the back. It just likes to push in corners. And it's just, I put new tires on it. I put Super Sports on it, Michelin's. Those helped a little bit over the crappy Dunlop tires that were on it, but they didn't make that big of a difference. So that's basically where my dilemma came in. I'm like, I don't want to drive this car. I'm paying $300 a month for it. Don't want to drive it. That's kind of a problem to me. So whatever. I figured I'd save all my mileage for my lease until this winter when I started driving the car more when I get back to school. Because at home, I'm not going to lie, I like driving the BMWs. The X5 is way over its lease, so I try not to drive that a lot. But even that, it's so nice to drive. I think that car handles better than my G does, and it's a big freaking truck. The 550 is fabulous as usual. That thing is like scary, freaky smooth out on the highway. It's just planet, and we're still going. Oh, that's the speed limiter. You got to watch out in that car. I got pulled over in that car for speeding because it was so smooth I couldn't tell how fast I was going, and I wasn't paying attention. But that car's got just clicked 55,000 miles, so we've put almost 10,000 miles on it since we got it. The X5 is at 17,000 miles. We use that for boat towing mainly this summer. It tows so well. I was going to make a demonstration on how to towing with the X5, and I probably will at some point. I know there's a lot of demand to see more videos of that, and I've been slacking, haven't made any. It's a fabulous vehicle. I love it. I would drive that car every day. It even gets better gas mileage than my G. Go figure. The Subarus, the WRX and the STI both got hailed on really bad. The WRX is considered a loss now, but it's going to hang around because it was a cheap car to begin with. We got good money for it to fix it, but we're not going to. The STI got pummeled, about $7,000–8,000 in damage. Haven't gotten that fixed yet. The Forester got a little bit of damage, but not too bad, just on the rear a little bit. But the Forester as well, that car is almost at 30,000 miles. My sister's putting STI suspension in it like today apparently, so it's going to be lower now. We'll see how that goes. I'm not sure, but supposedly it'll work well. Cars I've driven this summer, I've driven a few. I didn't have a ton of time, so I only got to drive a few. I drove the Impala, the new one in May, extensively with actually one of the GM engineers with the car, and oh my god, that is a nice vehicle. Like, they did some crazy improvements on that car, but it drives planted, it's smooth, it's quiet, the interior is phenomenal. I love the exterior. I think it's a beautiful car. I would definitely recommend it. And unlike the Taurus, the Impala actually feels big inside. What a concept. Not a big car with a tiny interior and less space than the car below it on its class, the Fusion. But no, the Impala is awesome. I love that car. I would drive that car every day probably. I did finally drive the Q50. While it's a big improvement over my G, I don't know. It drives really planted. I think Infiniti did a big disservice themselves by putting run flat tires on it. The run flat tires tends to wash out when you take a corner hard. See, I push cars. I don't just go around a corner and go, oh, the steering feels lovely. Oh, yes, jolly good day. No, I'm like, let's take this corner and see what this thing can do. And it starts to wash out. And I think a lot of that is because the tires suck. I bet if you put Super Sports on a Q50, it would probably just glue flat to the road. I haven't driven the hybrid yet. I want to drive the hybrid, but I just think for me personally, 50 to 55,000 is a lot of money for that car. I like the car. I'm not in love with it like I thought I would be. The video touchscreen in all the new Japanese cars, I'm just like not feeling it. I prefer the German style or my G's style where it's just, you know, you get the knob, you get the nav. None of this, you know, we got Microsoft in there booting up kind of thing. That's just a little too much, I think, inside a car. It's distracting. I'm just not into it at all. So needless to say, I'm not a big in-touch guy. That whole screen business, I'm not feeling. Cadillac ATS, that's my other gripe with that car is the Q system. Not really feeling it. It works okay. It's sluggish, but it's not like my Ford Touch. I drove that car again this summer, and it brought back my love for that car. I love the ATS. It drives fantastic. I want that car too. That's another one car I want. It's so balanced feeling. Even with all-wheel drive, it felt better in my G. I got back in my G, and I was like, oh, why does this car drive like a freaking boat? Why does everything drive like so well compared to my freaking G? It's supposed to be a sports thing, and it drives like a pickup truck. I don't get it. One of my friends bought a new Honda Civic, a 2013. I drove that a bunch this summer. That is a great little car, man, for $18,000 or whatever the sticker was. It's a base model. It's got like those ugly little hubcaps that look like fan wheels. But, oh, that's a great little car. I love that. It's fun to drive. It handles well. It's flat. I think it's got a lot of great standard features. You get a backup camera, Bluetooth audio, stereo sucks, but it's a base model car. What can you expect? Gets like 40 miles to the gallon. I'm like, God, this is a great little car. I would probably buy that car. If I wasn't so like in love with power and all that. Another one of my friends bought a new Ultima V6 2013. Holy hand, it's as fast as my G is. That's another depressing thing, is an Ultima is as fast as my G. And he gets 30 miles to the gallon in like mixed driving. And I get like 19. Why does my G have to disappoint me so much? It does nothing well except for look pretty. I think it's a beautiful car, but whatever. It's only a 2-year lease. I got a year and a half left. And then after that, I'll figure out whatever. But yeah, I didn't drive a ton of cars this summer. I did a lot of motorcycle stuff, track days. That was a freaking hoot, man. It's nothing like coming out of the turn, the straightaway turn on the, nobody knows what track I'm talking about since you're not from Minnesota, but at like 145 miles an hour, just leaned over. Oh, that's fun. That's a whole different experience than driving. But yeah, back to cars. I'll make a motorcycle video another time. I even got my little racing suit in there. It's right there. Lots of helmets. Let's go do some motorcycle riding. New cars. I was told to talk about the Mazda 3. I haven't really like tinkered with it a lot. I saw it at the Mazda dealer. I thought it was kind of ugly. A lot of people think it's beautiful. Maybe it is beautiful. I saw the hatchback base model, Sport I think they call it, with the little wheels. Again, why can't Mazda put bigger wheels on the car? It's my same problem with the old Mazda 3. They used to have great looking, the old Mazda, like the 2 generation ago Mazda 3. I love the way that car looked. It had good sized wheels for the proportions of the cars. Now they got these massive faces on them, and the nose on the front hangs out really far, and it's got tiny little wheels on it that look like freaking casters off a shopping cart. And it's just like, I'm sure it rides nice. It's got freaking balloons for tires, but I don't know. First look at it, I'm like, that thing's kind of ugly. I think I'd rather have a little Civic or Cruise. That brings me into my next thing. Small diesels. Did drive the Cruise diesel too. I really like diesels now, especially after having that X5. But like a small Cruise diesel 4-cylinder, like Car and Driver just did a thing, 740 miles on a tank of gas. Holy shit. Can you imagine going that far on a tank of gas? And it probably costs me 40, 50 bucks to fill up. But look at that range. It'd be awesome to never have to fill up. Jetta. Now Mazda's coming out with one in their 6. I mean, that's some cool stuff. Volkswagen replacing the 2.5. Now they're coming out with a 1.8 liter turbo. It's about damn time, because that 2.5 was literally a dinosaur of an engine. A 5-cylinder. It sounded sweet. My friend's got the 13 that I got her to buy. It's a sweet sounding car, but you know, it gets like 29 miles to the gallon, which in a compact car is not good. That's like if I set the Cruise at 65 in my G, I'll get 29 miles to the gallon. But it sounds cool, but it's a dinosaur engine. But this little engine, if it gets over 35, pushing that magical 40 miles to the gallon mark, it'll be a success for sure. That's what Volkswagen needed. Now, if only they can make the Jetta's interior a little bit nicer, because it is a little drab if you get a base model. Well, it's kind of drab in all of them. My friend's is the SCL with nav, and it's black. The whole thing is just black. I'm like, I feel like I'm sitting in a cave. What else? There's not a ton else. I'm gonna make more videos. I need to make more videos. It's my last year of school. 5-year plan, super senior, yay! And then I don't know what I'm gonna do. Infiniti and Nissan. I'm curious to see what Nissan does. I'm tired of a CVT in every single car. That's a little old. I understand CVTs. I get them, unlike most people, but I don't really like love them in like performance-y cars like the Maxima or whatever. I mean, It matched that Ultima's V6 very nicely, considering it was right next to my G when we may have sort of compared performance of the vehicles. And that was a little depressing. But oh yeah, I mean, all their stuff is kind of like meh. Infinity, I'm curious to see where they go, but I definitely don't really back the company like I used to. My favorite products were the generation before this, but now it's like they're changing the names and everything. I think that's kind of stupid. Not necessarily changing the names, like, period, because I understand why they're doing it. I mean, you can only go so long without running out of patents, which is basically what they did on the names. So I get why they're doing it. I just think the way they're going about it is stupid. Why change the name on the FX, right now? Why not just keep it the FX, and then when you refresh the car or change it, change the name to QX70 then? The JX has been out for 1 freaking year, and now it's a QX60. That makes no sense to me. Because now these people that bought JX, they're like, well, what the hell? My car's a piece of junk. It's old. It's not even the new car anymore. And I think it's going to confuse people. I really do. But I think people get used to it. I just don't get why they're doing it the way they are. They should change the car and then change the name so that the car has its own identity. And I don't know what the hell they're thinking, because apparently they're going to keep the G around for another 2 years and sell it like in very limited trim and color specs as an entry-level model. It's like, seriously, what about this guy that just bought a 2013 for $45,000 and now his car is, a $30,000 entry-level model? Like, seriously, what kind of customer whatever is that? Yeah, you don't mean much. You should give the people discounts. I'm glad I leased it. If you bought a new Infinity G right now, I feel bad for you, because you're going to get screwed. Especially if you want to just keep it a few years, you're definitely going to get screwed. You're going to lose like 30 grand on like a 40 grand car. It's worth like nothing. But, the leases were cheap. They still are cheap. It's a nice car. It's nice for most people, but I just notice a lot of things most people wouldn't when it comes to mainly suspension and geometry. Well, suspension geometry and then like steering and whatnot that most people wouldn't care about, that I do. So that's why I'm a little underwhelmed with my new car. But I'll make an update on it. It's got like 6,000 miles. It's a pretty car. I put a trailer hitch on it. It's got a trailer hitch. People are going to be like, why the hell did you put a trailer hitch? I'm going to do a review of that trailer hitch. I love that freaking trailer hitch. I tow my motorcycles with it to track days. Yeah, it's sweet towing a freaking motorcycle with a car. I love that. Tows great, though. I mean, it basically is a truck, so it tows fantastic. But still got 22 miles to the gallon. Not too bad towing. 21 if I drive faster. But that is all I have for this. Look for some car updates, motorcycle shit, whatever. I will make more videos, I promise, because apparently sometimes my little vlog things are entertaining, and so I'll try to continue doing that. I mean, if you want to see me talk about something, drop a comment. I read them all. I'm not one of those people that doesn't read the comments. I'll respond if you have a question or whatever, but I'll try to do some more. Yeah. One more thing. I love the new Silverados and Sierras. I want a new Sierra. It's a pretty truck. If only I had a use. I kind of do have a use, but I don't want to get a truck just to haul a motorcycle. It's kind of pointless. I have a little trailer for that. Anyways, see you guys.